and sky. Love changes everything, how you live and how you die. Love can make a summer fly, or a night seem like a lifetime. Yes, love changes everyone, how I tremble at your name. Nothing in the world will ever be the same. Love changes everything. Days are longer, words mean more. Love changes everything. Pain is deeper than before. Love can turn your world around, and that world will last forever. Yes, love changes everyone, brings you glory, brings you shame. Nothing in the world will ever be the same. Into the world we go, planning futures, shaping years. Love bursting inside me, all our wisdom disappears. Love makes goals of everyone, all the roads we make are broken. Yes, love changes everyone, live or perish in its flame. Love will never ever let you be the same. Love will never ever let you be the same.
President Kennedy, as they say. Thank you for coming out on a wet Sunday night to hear me speak, and to what is one of the closing events of Leather Pride Week. And in fact, this is the longest continually running event in Leather Pride Week. I've been associated with Leather Pride for now 12, 14 years, and the event has been running well before I was on the committee. So I suppose that's a testament to the work between the two organisations for being able to maintain this link now for well in excess of 15, 20 years. A little bit about me. I'm Gary Kennedy. As I said, for my sins, I'm president of Leather Pride yet again. Some of you who were here a few years ago may remember me here, and I said, oh, I'll do 2 years and it'll be back. I'm still here. A little bit about Leather Pride for those who don't know us. Most of us, and we still like the idea that we're the scary people. I mean, there's part of that that still appeals. You know, walk down the street and people go, oh, it's one of those weird people. No, we're still happy with that. But even regardless of that, I suppose we're the face of those whose sexual identity, I suppose we always say, is a little left of centre. For people who, we would say, not vanilla. And because of that, I suppose we're one of the very few organisations, and your church is another, where we don't discriminate against anybody. If you're heterosexual, you can be a member of Leather Pride. In fact, we have heterosexual, bisexual members. We have a predominantly female section of their membership, despite the fact the public face of us is, you know, boys in chaps at Inquisition. You know, as we often say, they're the boys who go to Saks and buy the chaps for the night and say they're into leather. The people who are members of Leather Pride, like your church, are far more diverse than the people you see on the posters sometimes. We are the organisation that represents those who have, if you like, a fetish as part of their sexual makeup. Be that leather, uniform, rubber. We could spend a long time going through the hanky codes as to what they all mean. Let's just say that it's not, we use the church term, it's not the missionary position, I suppose, in Leather Pride. We have a lot of kindred relationships, not only with the MCC, we work quite closely with Dykes on Bikes, Harbour City Bears, we do work for the Luncheon Club. For ACON, we have a memorandum of understanding with them. We've done work with mature age gays. I suppose we're Mardi Gras, Pride. We're one of those organisations been around long enough that people somehow think we know what we're doing. And the event you're attending now is one of the last events of this year's Leather Pride Week. And if you'd attended all the events this year, you would have gone to a life drawing class, an art gallery, a trivia night, a dance party. You would have gone to a barbecue. We've deferred the little bike run with Dykes on Bikes to later. So a lot of our events are quite social, as well as being a means for kindred people to get together. I suppose if you're coming along as the president and you have to talk about this, and one of the members was around my house and I said, what are you going to talk about? And I had a thought, and I've been thinking about this for a week, thinking, what will you talk about in a church? I rang my mother today, who's very Catholic, for Mother's Day, and she said, what are you doing tonight? And I said, oh, I'm going to church. And she almost, stunned silence on the other end of the phone. And I said, no, it's my type of church. And I thought, no, we won't take that any further. We'll just let us stew on that for a while. But she said, what are you going to talk about? And I said, well, I've often joked that the only time I get to church is for birth, deaths and marriages. And I've been in this church a number of times in the last year. Unfortunately, the two times I was here, one was for a death and one was for a marriage. Not many births in Leather Pride, strangely. It tends to be in here. But I remember that when I joined Leather Pride, there were 3 people on the committee with me who've passed away in the last year. Haley, who organised Inquisition 10, the party producer, passed away of breast cancer. Andrew, who co-produced Inquisition 11 with me, died from a fall at home. And Mark Adams, one of the founders of Leather Pride, unfortunately passed away from HIV only a few months ago. The leather community still has a number of people similarly affected, although we're doing well now, 20, 30 years. However, let's finish with good news. I was in here for a wedding, and I was in here for Sonia and Victoria, and Sonia, with her mohawk and her leather bustier, and Victoria in her long, flowing black velvet gowns, got married here only a few months ago. And I remember sitting here, and in the audience were the cream of Sydney's fetish society. The DJs in Andy Rowlands and Sveta and Sandy Hockrod were here, and the organisers of Leather Pride and Harbour City Bears and Inquisition and Candy Lips and Hellfire and all sorts of parties were in here. And I remember thinking, if only Fred had his way, this would be the room that you want to swallow now. And you could get rid of a suitable amount of the fetish community in one hit. And I remember turning around to my other half and said, I've just got to say this because this isn't a word I use very often. I'm sitting in a row with 2 dominatrices. How often do you get to use the plural of dominatrix in a sentence? Whenever I've come to the MCC church, I've always been made to feel welcome and included. I'd like to think whenever you attend a Leather Pride function, the same is true. We do look scary. If you take us home, we're scary, but we'll always talk to you. I'd like to thank Pastor Gavin for inviting you here tonight and continuing on the tradition of the Leather Pride service. And on behalf of Sydney Leather Pride Association, thank you again.